Then Thomas had an idea.
If we could start up Trevor, he'd for sure be able to pull me back onto the rails and clear some of these rocks so we could get through.
They had no other options, so they tried it. Thomas's driver made his way onto Trevor's cab and started him up. It took a while, but at long last he was fired up and ready. Soon, Trevor pulled Thomas back onto the rails and then began clearing the heavy rocks away from the track.
Oh, thank you, Trevor. You've saved the day. We must get back on track and make up for lost time. I don't know if we can make it much further, Thomas. Your snowplow's completely ruined from the rocks. We may have to turn around. But we can't give up. We must live at the street of the villages. Alright, but we'll just have to be more careful.
Soon, Thomas was back in steam, and the three friends continued their way through the snowy valley to deliver the village's tree. Back at the yard, James was telling Gordon about how Thomas had gotten to take the tree instead of him.
Can you believe it? A smart, red engine like me gets stuck doing all the odd jobs on one of the most important and busiest days of the year, while Thomas is gallivanting off somewhere with the Christmas tree. Who knows if he'll even make it back knowing him? Quite right, James. That job should have been for a bigger, stronger, and red engine like yourself. I'd like to think otherwise myself. Excuse my intrusion, but I think that job should have been given to a more modern engine like me. I know I've said this before, but the fat controller should scrap you and get engines like me. A touch on the starter and I'm off. They have to fuss around you for hours before you're even ready. Haven't we heard that somewhere before?
James and Gordon were furious. They wheezed loudly at Diesel. Suddenly, all three heard an extraordinary noise.
Silence!
Diesel, James and Gordon all stopped and stared.
Diesel, no one wants to listen to your rubbish about modernization. The fat controller would never scrap us and you know it. Now be off with you.
Diesel rolled away, green with envy.
As for you two, you both should have a lot more faith in Thomas. He's our friend. We need to care and look out for him just as he would do for us. Little engines can do big things, you know. Now move along before I have Bill and Ben dump you both in the sea.
James and Gordon were shocked at such an idea, as Edward laughed and puffed away. Back at Ofsted, George and the workmen were laying down salt and sand on the road for the villagers.
Huh, just great. I'm stuck here laying rock on the road on Christmas Eve. How perfect. I'm always being overworked and underappreciated on this blasted island with these steam engines. I'll show them.
Thomas had been puffing for a very long time, when suddenly his driver slammed the brakes on. They came to a bridge. It was old, rusty, and didn't look safe at all. Thomas anxiously looked at the bridge. He really didn't want to go across, but he was determined to deliver the villager's tree. If I can get across this bridge, we'll be halfway to Ofsted, he thought to himself.
If you don't mind me saying, Mr. Thomas, I think it would be better if we went back and found another line. This bridge doesn't look very safe, if you forgive me for suggesting it. No, Toad, this is the only way. We can't let the villagers down.
Trevor didn't like the look of the bridge either, but he was willing to cross. Thomas bravely crept onto the bridge. It creaked and groaned beneath his wheels as he moved forward. The supports began to give way and crack as he moved along the old bridge.
Mr. Thomas, could we possibly hurry it up a bit? I don't think this bridge will hold us for very long.
Thomas began to speed up, but he was worried that if he went too fast, the bridge would collapse. The middle supports began to shake as Thomas made his way along the bridge. As the rest of the train began to make it back to solid ground, the rails gave way and collapsed.
Mr. Thomas, help! I'm going to fall! Thomas, pull harder!
Cried Trevor. Thomas's wheels kept slipping as he tugged on the rails. Then Thomas remembered his stand boxes. He released them just in time, and with every ounce of strength he had, he pulled Toad to safety just as the rest of the bridge collapsed. Then Thomas heard a snap and a loud hissing sound. His driver stepped out.
Your safety valve has burst.
Meanwhile, back at Ofsted, George was not having a good time laying salt along the village's roads. Just then, Bertie rushed by, kicking up snow and slush all over George.
You stupid boss. This has got to be the worst day. I'm so cold I can't even feel my wheels anymore. All this just to lay some rock on the road. Come on, George, we're finished here. Now we're off to do some roads by the main line.
It was even worse by the main line as George rolled down the road. Any time someone passed, they'd kick up snow and slush onto George. Then Duck came by with the goods train, and as he passed, he wheezed loudly, spraying snow all over George.
You silly engine. I'll show them, and when I do, they'll learn to respect the roads.
There was a bank of snow on the road up ahead, and when George finally realised what he was doing and saw the snowbank, he tried to stop. But his wheels slid along the icy roads, just missing the snowbank, and crashed to a tree. When he crashed into the tree, his coupling broke, and his trail of salt went crashing down the steep hill. Down below, Thomas was making his way down the line when everything happened at once. George's trailer smashed to the ground, only a few feet away from Thomas.
Bust my buffers! Oh my.
Thomas began whistling frantically, which disturbed the snow, and it began to fall onto the tracks below. Thomas tried to push through the snow, but it was hard without his snowplow, and he had to be careful with his spare safety valve.
Keep pushing, Thomas. I am, but it's hard without my plow.